Yeah. So how honest can we be?
You get to say everything you want.
Say, hey, how many other Black agency owners are there in the community of 6,000 agency partners?
Max, you're learning a bunch today.
Y'all, I'm here for it.
On today's episode of the Bill Happily podcast, we have the one, the only Tim Jones from Eternal Works and BOHAP.
Tim shares his story on how he made his way into the HubSpot universe and built a HubSpot agency with his wife. And then also tells us the story about how he created the BOHAP's Slack community. All that and more on this episode of the Built Happily podcast.
This is the Built Happily podcast, where we dive into building apps, companies, and relationships in the HubSpot ecosystem.
As HubSpot grows, so does the opportunity, and we put you in the room with the people making it all happen. Tim, how much did Dax prep you for this wonderful adventure that we like to go on?
None. We're completely all natural here. Organic.
Blood.
Straight organic.
We want freestyle. We want the cipher. We want it true real. And that's why we got the true real Tim Jones, Eternal Networks. Like, we're keeping it eternal. Shout out to Bone Thugs. Leader and creator of a cool community, working with the wife on an agency. Tim, what are you excited about in this HubSpot ecosystem?
Oh, man. There's a lot happening right now, man. Dang, that's a loaded question like crazy.
I know. I rehearsed that, Tim. I rehearsed it.
There's so much right now, I think, to be excited about in the ecosystem. As a partner, I think there's dynamics with HubSpot that are consistently being looked at and improved and just working a lot better. I don't know, dude. There's so much. Like, the software is just continuously getting better, right? It's like any software, it's ever changing. There are certain things that you've been hoping would happen for years that maybe took a little while that are finally popping up. Some that you're still waiting on, but like the things that are rolling out are really cool. Some of the things are just like really home run hitters, like they should have been there all along kind of things, even with some of the navigational changes. But what's really cool, and everybody's talking about this, been talking about it. I'm to the point now where I don't like talking about it because I feel like everybody's talked about it. With the AI stuff that's rolling out in the tools, not perfect in anyone's tool yet, but what we're seeing happen and begin to happen is kind of like crazy, wild, dope.
Yeah, we're in some wild times right now, both outside of the HubSpot universe and inside of the HubSpot universe.
One of the things I wanted to ask is, so we met at Inbound randomly through our good friend Juan.
Yep.
And Juan introduces, hey, I think you should be interested in seeing what Tim's doing. So I want to know, I never really got to understand like where you came from into the HubSpot ecosystem and what brought you here.
Oh, wow.
Sure.
Yeah, great question.
We want Tim's origin story.
Oh, wow. I don't know that we have a long enough window for my complete origin, but let's look at it like this. High school graduate, went to art school growing up from elementary school through high school while going to regular school. Really, if we're being transparently honest, I wanted to do two things. I wanted to draw comic books and do graffiti.
Hell yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
My parents looked at me like I was crazy. There was no internet like today at all. Like the internet back then, we thought the internet was AOL back then.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're being honest, like back then. Got out of high school, I started working young. I was a kid with the lemonade stand, mowing lawns, babysitting kids, whatever I could do to make money. Started working when I was 14, part-time, full-time in the summers. So I was always working, always had the hustle or whatever, like people would, if I look back on it, that was always there. Was a year or two out of high school working at, it's Macy's now, was Hex back then. I was working in the men's department and in ladies' shoes of all places, which is the whole, we can't even talk about that side of the world. It's wide over there. But I was drawing one day on a lunch break and a guy walked by who worked at another store that we talked all the time. And he saw me drawing for the first time. He's like, dude, do you think you could do a logo for me? And I was like, sure.
There it is.
Probably do that. And so spent a little while. I think it took me like 2 or 3 months, did some research, put some stuff together, came back, gave it to him. Probably 4 to 6 months after that, he walked up, handed me a business card with the logo on it and was like, I just quit and I'm going to start my IT company.
Jeez.
And then
I woke up, but I was head of a marketing agency. I had no idea what happened.
Look, almost right. Like from there, I was doing business cards and logos for a bunch of people. I was heavy into the music industry in my younger years, specifically in the gospel, hip hop arena, gospel music arena, all that stuff, awards and stuff like that. Ended up getting into web. I got a graphic design job just before 9/11. 9/11 hit the cancel button on that agency because the founder of that agency had his money in stock and stuff. And when the towers were hit, his money was gone. And so I showed up to work. They had the chains on the door. We didn't know he was going under, but he went under. Two of the customers that I was working with at the time, one was an IT company and one was a CD duplication and replication company. Again, now you know how old I am for sure. And so those became my first two like independent real clients where I was doing work for them like every week. The IT lady ended up teaching me how to code. And so I jumped into web design right away. And then probably 5 or so years after that, I jumped into marketing.
Getting closer.
Went into the Google diversity program to learn how to do marketing better. Part of that program, Google said, hey, Tim, we know this company called HubSpot. And so we're going to pay for it. And HubSpot's going to come and train you on this tool. And so we did that for 6 months or so. This is about 10 to 12 years ago when it was just Marketing Hub, right?
Yeah.
And did that for about 6 months or so, got out of the program. HubSpot called and we were like, that's some expensive software. It really wasn't, but we thought it was at the time. And we pushed it. But I think by the end of that year, we bought in.
Yeah.
And so we've been in the program since.
Nice. So wait, was it like the like the HubSpot customer trainers that came out to you guys and did this? Like was it through another partner? Like how?
No, it was HubSpot's employees at the time. I can't recall who specifically was in charge of teaching the software. If I dig through my emails, I have it.
Yeah,
I don't recall who. But no, it was legit HubSpot team members, employees. They did it online, which was cool too.
Yeah. What year was this? Because I started in 2015. Jeez.
This
That's
was
crazy.
till end of 2014. This was 2014 going into 15. So
yeah,
15,
we were still going on site doing customer trainings and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, I remember we wanted to do that after we went through the program, but we just never. At that point, they were like, "Come to Boston." We were like, "I don't think we're going to pay to come to Boston."
So that's where you guys started, like HubSpot agency, ish type work. And then is this the same team you're with today, or is this okay? So because you started an agency, as I'm understanding, with your wife. Is that what you were telling me, Dax? Or
to an extent,
yeah. Tell
us how you built. She has her own story how she got here. So actually, my wife, we got married in 2004. I was a freelancer with an LLC that started that in 99, 2000, something like that. And so by the time we got married, I was already like doing it. Was barely working for anybody else. I think I quit my last full-time gig in 2006. I took a year off to just reset and went back to work for somebody in 2006. So by that point, I think after we got married, she just, to be honest with you, she jumped in and was just like, you have papers everywhere. I'm just going to organize your papers is how she started off. The next thing I knew, she was like, I'm going to take care of your invoices for you because you're a little slow moving on those. And so I very much am a type A, but also like the artsy melancholy. So I have these two very weird sides and I ebb and flow. So I get hyper organized for a term and then I get very idealistic creative for a term too. And it really does shift in weird ways to me. But so she technically by trade is an RN. That's her degree. She's been a nurse in practice for 22 years, I guess, at this point. She used to work full time and they work 312. So on her days where she wasn't working her 12, she'd help me out. Her role just consistently grew into becoming like project manager. She's amazing with people. And so she started getting in front of people, doing kind of account management, project management. The more she was around it, she started just naturally being good at certain things. Her empathy, I think, goes a long way towards a lot of the stuff we do.
I would imagine that being a registered nurse has an asinine amount of transferable skills to doing this type of work, completely unironically. Like just your ability to diagnose, your bedside manner when things are going really bad, your ability to listen to people, pay attention to detail, figure out problem solving. Like, I couldn't think of a better totally unrelated industry to come from, I think, in line of work to really be able to handle this.
It's wild, right? And then you throw in there like the crisis management stuff.
Yeah, sure. And the workflow just sent out 1 billion emails. What do we do? Triage.
Everything is a crisis.
Code blue.
Exactly. Get the crash cart. Let's go. Yeah. And she's a natural in that space. Like she handles chaos very well. So it's interesting. And by time, I don't know, I would say by 2010, she was like full blown in it. And I think that's when she started. She went to what's called PRN. So it's like you work like so many hours per month. And like now she's down to working maybe a weekend a month. But she's
still in
to maintain her license, to maintain the skills. Yep. She has her own journey. Like literally for 10-ish years, she hated nursing.
Yeah.
And we were at a point where we were like, hey, maybe nursing, you need to get out of this because it's not good for you. It's literally not good for you emotionally. Like it is hurting you. And so we were to the point where we were like, maybe this is it. She always wanted to do mother, baby, and oh gosh, what delivery. And so there was a job opening, and I was like, just apply. And she was like, I don't have experience. They want experience. They want you to have something. Just write a letter. She wrote a letter. She got the job. Like literally the manager called her the same day. And so because she found something that she loved, it was just like, look, as bad as it was for those 10 years, there's no way I'm like, you need to quit this. So when you're ready, you step away. So she does it. She plays with babies. I always joke her and I'd say you're going to the country club when she does go in because she's playing with babies and she's got a bunch of girlfriends that she works with that she likes working with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, so what's it like building a HubSpot partner business with your spouse? Because I've seen people do this. Like I've seen husband and wife teams, right? And like I always joke with my wife, I'm like, listen, as soon as you get sick of teaching, right? We can start a HubSpot agency. And she's just, I don't want to work behind a desk. I'm like, you work behind a desk. You literally do. It's just in a different way. She has this thing about working behind desks or whatever. But she'd never do it, even though she's a really good teacher. I'm like, you'd be really good at this stuff. But she's got this aversion to like working in corporate America or whatever it may be. But I'm constantly, and I'm constantly pushing her to get her to think about it, but she doesn't want it. But what's that? Because I've seen so many successful spouse teams build HubSpot partners. What's the secret?
Dude, it's interesting. It is interesting because I don't think, even though we know a lot of other couples that run agencies together, I do feel like there's a smaller group within that group where I'm going to say this and some of the other couples might want to punch me in the face, but it's okay. I like my wife. My wife likes me. That's my best friend. When we stop working, we go hang out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, when I started the business, I sincerely wanted to run a business with my family. Right? Yeah. Like I wanted whatever family members wanted to be involved at whatever level they wanted to be. Now realities tell you a different story when you get to people's like how they work and don't work.
Yeah. You want to know how you have a good marriage? If you could take a HubSpot business to partner or to find a partner, that means you've got a solid marriage.
Bro. And I think our personalities complement. I really do. Like we've definitely melded. I probably toned down a lot over the years. Right. I'm still very passionate. I still can get, my family's loud. I can still get very loud if I'm excited about something. I don't even notice it happens, but the volume goes from like a 2 to like a 20 real fast. And it is what it is. She's more chill, laid back, but she's also, because of us being together, she's a bit more assertive and stuff like that. So I think there's like that natural balance that marriage brings anyway to people, or hopefully brings to people. But I think really like we lean on each other's skill sets, and we, just like you said, the things for her that transfer really well, we lean on those. And then the things that I do really well, and some of them I just do really well because I've been doing this for 25 years and I had to figure out a lot of crap. And so we lean on that, and we overlap in a lot of ways. We support each other in a lot of ways, but we really try to stay in our lanes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a secret. I always jokingly say we like each other, right?
Dude, that's true. Me and my wife have a great marriage, and it's strictly because we're best friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's like one of the only people in the world that can make me laugh. We genuinely enjoy hanging out with each other. Yeah, dude, if you're going to work with someone 24/7, you're going to have that, right?
That's the important piece. You got to have good and bad. You have to have the good. You have to have the bad. You have to be balanced, and you have to. They know you better than you know yourself, which is the biggest thing, because looking in the mirror and understanding, you can't look in the mirror and see yourself.
No.
I got to ask, do you guys ever have like product update date nights? Let's go look at the. Let's go watch it. Let's go light some candles and watch some Kyle Jepsen videos.
Yeah.
Nearly right. Nearly right. That's hilarious. When I tell her that, she's gonna crack up. When we first got now, mind you, I've known my wife since I was 17. So she was 14, 15. So we grew up together, we went to the same high school. I was a senior, she was a freshman. We grew up in the same church. Not that we're in a small town or anything like that, but like we've known each other. She's literally one of the funniest people I know. But when we first started working together, and even before, like I'd be talking about business. She was like, "Can we not talk about business at dinner?" Then after a while, it was like, "Okay, cool. I've got this down. We're not going to talk about business at dinner." And then I'm looking at her and I'm like, "You're talking about business at dinner." Right. And so I think you just finally come to a place where you're like, why are we trying to separate this? This is our life. I know everybody talks work-life balance, but work is part of life, right? Like you can't escape that. I get the need for rest and all that, but like we just had to own it and just like, if you want to talk about it, we talk about it. This is what we're both doing. This is what we're both passionate about. It honestly is counterintuitive for us to try and avoid it. Mm-hmm. And so we will naturally flow from a conversation about a show we binged on a Saturday right into something business related. Like it just all goes together now at this point. So you talking about candlelit nights watching HubSpot or dinner and certifications. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Maybe not the candles, but close enough.
Yeah.
What this all circles back to is this concept of togetherness with people, right? And you've done a great job of building something new inside the HubSpot ecosystem, which is the BOHAP. So tell me where that came from, how that as representation ridiculously matters. You took it into your own hands, so I would love to hear how that came about.
Yeah, so how honest can we be?
You can be
completely
corporate America, man. You get to say everything you want.
So I've been in this space for 25 years. I've run a company for 25 years. I've done work for Suzuki, Subway, and some other major brands as a freelancer, designer, web developer. And so I walked into, as a business owner, you already feel like you're on an island, right? You already feel alone. Nobody else thinks like you. Very few people think like you. So you're always trying to gravitate towards people that get you, right? At least to some extent. I walked into enough meetings where they would hear me on a call, see my name on paper, and thank God my parents gave me the name they gave me because it does help me. It does help me a lot. I'll get into rooms sometimes. But I've walked in enough and heard and seen the expression of the Tim Jones I talked to 3 days ago on the phone. That same Tim Jones? Are you sure?
With the part?
You know what I'm saying? Like, I walked into enough rooms like that. And in this world of marketing, like you get to double down on that because there's not a lot of black and brown faces in marketing. There just isn't. Particularly, maybe even more so in the US. And I get it. Some of that is just the nature of the numbers playing out, right? Like the population ratios there. So there's going to naturally be that. But when you take that up a level into ownership, that number like reduces extremely so, right? And so for me, it wasn't just that I was feeling alone here locally on an island because there aren't a lot of other people running an agency that get agency life and can talk around agency life that look like me, had been through similar experiences and challenges. When I was going to HubSpot, and at the time it was called Black & Inbound, love it. It's a dope spot. But candidly speaking, I'm in that group and nobody in there owns an agency that I was aware of, right? So I'm having conversations or trying to have conversations and people are saying things to me candidly that I down in me completely disagree with as an owner, right? Because I have a different vantage point of how these systems work. And so I just, honestly, I'm at the conference feeling just like it's just me and my wife, right? And I have other agency owners that I love and that I gravitate towards, but none that I knew had a shared life experience. And even when you talk about some folks being in other countries, like I talked to some of my agency friends that are like in Africa or in the islands, and it's like they don't even know what it's like to be the minority in a space because they don't have to deal with that. And so they're hearing about the experience through us. And so you get that. And so what I did was I went to the head of Black & Inbound at the time at HubSpot, the founder of Black & Inbound, and I asked, I said, hey, how many other Black agency owners are there in the community of 6,000 agency partners? And he was like, I don't know. HubSpot would like to know too. Went
Are
to
you
a,
about Devin?
yeah, Devin. Yeah, so me and Devin were having that conversation. I went to another friend of mine who at the time was the number 6 employee, Dan Tyre, amazing guy. And I asked him the same question. And he was like, I don't know. Have you talked to Devin? And he was like, this is something that I think would be interesting to find out. And so I went into one of the Slack communities for the partners, and I just started looking and searching and finding and asking around. And there were other partners that we know and love that were like, you're absolutely right. This is something that needs to be sought. And they started introducing me to the people that they knew. Turned out of about, I think at the time it was like 5,000 plus agencies. It turned out there were 13.
So, it's not even sad, right? It's just, again, it is the path you lead to see people. I feel like a similar story like with skateboarding, right? When I was like in high school, some kid, that shout out to Anthony, had a skateboard in his basement. I used to watch the X Games when I would go to sleep because it'd be on at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, man, that's kind of dope. I like this a lot. Stepped on a skateboard, everything like was over. And you go through this path, right? When it's early. And in high school, like I'm skateboarding, my family looking at me funny. Kids in school are like, wait, that's not for you.
Yeah.
You're good at it, so it matters. Tim, you're good at it. So they're like, they're like, well, I guess you fit. Fast forward, it's commonplace. Everybody, everything, everywhere. And it's just early. Like Max, we always say on this podcast, it's early. And Tim, you set a track for people because it's early, because it's going to grow and it's going to grow. But I see the thing, man. I am not an agency owner, but I own a software company inside the HubSpot ecosystem.
Yep.
Found it from me being stupid, right?
Yep.
Again, that representation of seeing and seeking and finding resonates that to the universe, because then more people are going to seek and find you. AKA how I was sought and found that day. It was like, hold on, you know that Tim? I'm like, no. Because I'm on an island.
Yeah.
I'm just by myself with the other 10, talk about 13 Black owned agency partners at the time. How many app companies were there at HubSpot? Like 8. So there's your ratio.
Yeah.
It goes way down, and it ends up, and there probably won't, well, I would say there probably won't be another unless we groom them or we raise that up. And that's part of the duty, right? So not to interject the story, but I feel that it's about that early path of where you end up going, who influenced you early on, that person that gave you that business card, like you were successful, this is a part of you, I'm going, you have provided value to my life in a direction. And that's what I believe like the Black owned agency partners group does, is show people that they are affecting others, and you should be the light, the leader, the example all the time by being good at what you do. And of course, as my dad said, and Max, you're the minority on this call, which is hilarious, always. What you do, no one's going to think about what you did, right? And say that it was just you. I'm sure your parents probably said the same thing to you all the time. Yep. You don't represent you at all. You represent everybody that looks like you. So if you do something wrong, it's not going to be like, Tim jacked up, man, he messed it up. No, he's going to be like, people that look like Tim always mess up. And that is the thing that people of color, Max, you're learning a bunch today, have to go
I'm here for it
every single day. That you don't represent yourself. You represent a group of people with everything you do. So you better open that door. You better say thank you. You better say yes, sir, and no, sir, and yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Otherwise, you will put a foul light on people that look like you.
You're going to make it harder for them.
Bad reality. It's like I wouldn't say a bad reality, but it puts you makes you better, right? It makes everyone better, ideally.
100%. And if you don't do that, it makes it difficult for the next person up. Because now they get to live through those assumptions, if you will. Those negatives.
Now there's an assumption, which you talk to number 6 at HubSpot. I don't know. How many of there are like, I have no clue. Maybe there's a couple. Yeah. They aren't making enough noise to do so. They're making zero noise. They existed. Of course, they always existed. There were Black skateboarders existing back in the day. Were they making enough noise in the universe to do it? And eventually it became commonplace where you want to have a leader. You don't want to say what leader. You want to have people doing the right thing, doing well, so that they can fully represent. That's why representation matters. You want to see, is it possible for me to do this? Tim did it.
Yeah.
Tim did it with his wife. Like, it could be a couples thing. Like, it's possible. That has to happen. And you can't do that sitting at your house in the corner by yourself. You have to seek the nodes to resonate bigger and bigger and bigger. That's why that's such an important mission that you've taken on. And that's why HubSpot was like, yo, I want to know.
Yeah. What's amazing is the response that we've gotten from folks at the shock, one, the shock that it's only that many. And then just the, okay, how do we fix that? Has always been the question that kind of follows it up, is how do we fix that? Dan was completely just blown. He was just like, there's no way. He was like, there's got to be more. That's crazy. He was like, that's too low a number. And I, like I said before, I don't know if the number is too low. I think, like I said, when you play the numbers game, it's naturally going to be a number that's lower significantly just due to population ratio, right? The percentage of people that go into business ownership, entrepreneurship is significantly lower. So there's that aspect. But I do agree. Like, I do think we need to increase it. I do think we need to blaze this path, make it easier, make it commonplace, as you're saying, like that. Make it normal. This should be normalcy. I'll be candid. I started the group selfishly. I needed a space where I could feel sane, right? Where I didn't feel like if I shared a story, people might sympathize. They might nod their heads. But a lot of times they give you that look like, that really happened, or you just
you just come on, man, no one did that. That's not, people aren't like that, because I'm not like that.
Yeah, but it's, no, I'm talking to you because you're not like that. I'm actually telling you because I know you're not like that, but there are people out there who are like that. And so it just created, again, it just was selfishly just me having a space. And I think what it's grown into, especially with the core group that's there, is just a really safe space where you can bring whatever you need to the group. And there's no agenda. Like, we had a call yesterday, and we always prepare like an agenda of things to talk about, Ashley and I, but it's like a backup plan. So if nobody has something they want to bring to the group, then we do a backup plan. One of the members has something they wanted to share that was going on, and so we dove into that a bit, right? And it was really cool. And they were like, oh, I'm sorry for hijacking. I said, no, you're not hijacking anything. That's what this is for, right? That's what it's for me. That's what it's for you. That's what it's for Dax, right? That's what it's for.
That's a big deal. How do you look to establish your presence at Inbound upcoming in San Francisco? Are you guys there? What can we expect? Because I'm going to show up.
We're going to be there. So we are planning like our own. So last year we did our first kind of BOHAP Inbound, like our own little inbound, pre-inbound. This year we're going to do one afterwards. We're going to have 2 days afterwards that we're staying over. And we're going to collectively hang out, share successes, help share insights, share wins, share playbooks, share anything we can to help the people in this group grow and learn and move forward. That's really what we're trying to do for one another. Rising tide raises all ships. That's the goal. It's an interesting question about making the presence known at Inbound. Ashley and I have talked about making like BOHAP t-shirts and rocking those a little bit just to let people know like it's a thing. But if I'm being honest, dude, I am not like, remember I said I'm a type A and like a type C, right? So if you ask my parents, like they would have to drag me out of force me, like put the pencils and paper down, stop drawing and come out here and hang out with the family. Even if you look at my social, I am just naturally not a person that likes to be in front of everybody, if I'm being honest. I can do it. I think I do it well, but I have to completely put on a different hat and get into, I love stand-up, so I get into kind of my goofiness a little bit. And I've learned how to do that over the years. But if you ask me, I don't need to be out front, so I don't pursue it typically. So that's a tough question for me, dude. I'm just being honest. It's a tough question. Juan, who you mentioned earlier, who introduced us, he said something about us leading. And I was like, dude, like, that's not at all my intentions here. I just needed a circle that I can go into, but I needed some sanity. And so I don't look at it as, I get it. Like, I get it because, yes, I did. If by definition, I took the lead and pulled everybody into a room. So I get that. But I don't know, man. It's a group effort. The people in this group are amazing. They're brilliant. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm the smartest of the group. I don't believe that at all. There's some brilliant minds in this group. And I think collectively we're just better. And so that's how I'm going to always probably lean on it and push on it. Now, am I a type A? And if I see like leadership is lacking, will I step into that space? Absolutely. I will step in and organize and run a thing and push it forward. But my hope is that the people will be seen and that others will connect to who they relate to most. That's my hope, right? Because I think everybody has something to bring. Everybody has something personality wise. We're from different parts of the country, different parts of the world. We got people coming in from Africa and Trinidad, Tobago as well that are part of the group. We have a young lady that's from London that's part of the group, right? Everybody here in the States is from all parts of the States. I think everybody has a different flavor. And just like when we go out to eat, everybody don't eat steak.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I love it. If that's not your thing, it's not your thing.
Yeah, it's one of the things that HubSpot does a great job at is the community aspect. That's one of the reasons why we brought you on the podcast, because this was built within a bigger place.
Yeah.
And again, with HubSpot and with the communities and all the different communities they're creating, that now there's the spot, and there is a true like intentionality with getting people from all over. It's a global organization. It's like people are everywhere, people, so they can't like exclude that. But I always kind of shout it out to be, you could tell, and this is one of those things that me and Tim will get. You can see when people are trying, right? They're like, HubSpot's trying. They're trying to put it out. They're like, you know what? How about we don't just have everyone look the same on the website? We have to try in every little piece of thing, and the CEO down, right? It's interesting when you see that, but there's this beauty that you have to say or you have to experience, because you don't want to be like, oh man, they're like, you can't say that they're really trying to bring people of color in to the point where it's like overdone, right? Like it's not like McDonald's style, right? Where it's like a negative like thing. But how do you react when you see the intentionality? Do you take it as oh man, like that's weakening, or is that empowering?
I actually love it. So I'll bring this up in context so you get, it's probably the best way that I know how to explain it. So the George Floyd thing went down, and there were a handful of friends who didn't look like me that called me, Dan Tyre being one of the first people that picked up the phone to check on me. And you see something like that, and it's like, he didn't do anything wrong on the call, so I don't want to give the impression. But like when you see people do that, I think as the people of color, we need to extend grace for the people trying. And I think there's something to that. So when that was going on, what I tried to be during that time was, after I got through my emotions in the situation and processed it for myself, what I tried to be was a safe space for people to ask stupid, dumb, ignorant, and even sometimes racist questions, right? Because when people are trying, we need to give them room to make mistakes. If we don't give them room to make mistakes, they're going to pack it up and go home, right? And if you attack them, if you react in a way that makes them feel like they cannot, like they're going to stop. It's the same mental psyche as when you plug something into an outlet you shouldn't plug in. We're not going to do that again. Like you learn that behavior of, when I did that, it was damaging, so don't do it twice. It's the same thing with this. And culture is that way across the board. I bring up the George Floyd thing because I think everybody can understand the communications that were happening. But the reality is that happens culturally everywhere, across all cultures. It's just people don't tend to extend the grace, and they don't tend to, as the people in the culture, sometimes I think people go, oh, we're right. Who's to say? Where'd the rule book for culture come from as to how we do things? And so I grew up in a high school where we were and if I check the numbers, I feel like this is pretty accurate. It was like 30% Black, 30% white, and 30% Asian, mostly Filipino. If you went over to your Filipino friend's house, you had to take your shoes off in the garage. Can't wear them in the house. Now, the household I grew up in is you obey the rules of the house you're in. So I don't question this. If I want to go inside and hang out with my friends, I have to take my shoes off. So I know I'm going over to their house. Let me wear socks because I don't want my feet out and people joking my feet or something crazy. So you just follow the rules. But you would have some friends who'd be like, I don't understand why I got to take my shoes off. Well, one, it's their house. It's the same thing as if you put your feet on the table in my dad's house. You're going to find out really fast you don't put feet on his table. He paid for that. He worked hard for it. With the Asian culture in this, I've made assumptions. They can happily correct me if I'm wrong, but I go, well, one, I think it's nasty to sit and lay in a space where someone's been walking around in their yard where maybe they've had dogs and other matter in that yard, and now you're tracking that around for kids to roll around and play on. I think this is just a cultural thing that they're aware of, and they go, don't bring unclean things into the house. Who's to say they're wrong? Who's to say they're right? It's a cultural thing that you just need to sit back, give room and grace for on both sides, right? Because there are people coming into your culture that don't understand it, and you're in your culture and you need to give them that grace. And they need to come in with an open mind that just because I grew up this way doesn't make me right. To me, for me personally, that's the American condition. That's really what we struggle with our tension here. It's we're not willing to say, maybe we're not, maybe our way is not the best way. Maybe it's not even about best. Maybe it's not the only way. Maybe there's a few ways to get there. And then just extending that grace.
And that is an American thing. So that's why HubSpot can tote the American flag, because it's America. And especially when you live in a place, let's say we live in a place like Texas. Yeah. You live in Texas, or when you don't live in Texas, excuse me, you have assumptions of Texas. When you live in Texas, you're like, this is America. I haven't seen anybody not of color in 50 minutes. And it's not just people like me. It's people of everywhere. There's a lot of Indian culture. There's a lot of Asian culture. There's every single thing in Texas that you would imagine is not in Texas for whatever reason. Just the condition of a cultural thing. Yeah. That culture is something that you've observed externally. Like when I lived in Chicago, I thought a certain way about Texas because that's all I've observed. Yeah. Whatever told me everything.
I'm a liberal cuck from Massachusetts, so I have very specific views of what I think Texas is. Yeah. Even though I've been there a bunch of times.
Right, but when you live in Texas, you're like, this is completely wrong. Everything is wrong that was taught. And when you, to bring it back to the concept of when in a large organization is attempting to acknowledge different cultures, right? Not just, of course, by default, everybody's cool. But truly acknowledge, like the email from in the group, the picture that they sent out about inbound, it was like Juan and I don't know if you was your wife, but they were
there were like 3 emails that went out with people from BOHAP. There's 11 of us in the Slack, 12 of us in the Slack. And so you had Juan, you had Des, and then you had Hannah. Those 3 were in emails from HubSpot.
Multiple emails. So Max, you would imagine, you're like, are they trying to show extra representation? Yes. Yes, they are. Yeah. Because they have a completely, it's like all of us were in all the emails. We're like,
man. Trust me, I was in people operations when I was running new hire training there. So I saw the full scale effort that they were putting in back then.
But it's like it's this effort, right? You're like, what are you trying to hide? There's a lot of ways to swallow that, right? Yeah. And overanalyze it to the moon. You're like, are you just trying to show because you know we're unrepresented? Are you, like, do I need help? I don't need help. It's like the wheelchair trying to hold the door. Like, I don't need help. I've been doing this my whole life. I've been running these wheels like forever. Like, I don't need help. I don't need you. And you can look at it that way, or you can take the grace and be like, we see you. That's cool. Yeah. You showed us. We there. We're laughing. Like, we appreciate that. There's a lot of ways to take that as companies look to explore what the world, like, take a true American, what the world looks like, and put that into their external marketing and their external face. And what does HubSpot look like? Represent.
Right. It's the line between they get it or they don't, meaning either you're the token or they love you. Mm-hmm. That's really what it plays out. And you can fall on either side of that, like you said. I think with HubSpot, the thing that I've loved is as I've told this story, and I've only started talking about it within the last inbound is when I was really, let me go connect with some of the execs and share this little story within the community. And the response was like, when we get out of inbound, let's get on the call. Let's meet. We got to talk about this more. I've had multiple calls with different execs in the partner community and a product even, where it's just, hey, we need to dig back into that. I've been on. So when they did the product launch earlier this year, the announcements, one of them saw me in the thread and was like, hey, we need to get on a call after this. Right. So it's not, for me, from what I'm seeing, it's a sincere, we're trying to figure this out. Yes, we're trying to help, but we're trying to help because we think there's an imbalance here that needs to be fixed. We think and I don't want to say an injustice because it's not an injustice, but we do think there's something here that needs to be, like, this needs to be more balanced. This is out of balance and it needs to be more balanced. There's not enough of you guys in the community. And so how do we solve that? How do we support what you're already doing? And those types of conversations. So it's good in that, what I said before, they're trying. So whether they get it right or wrong is not the point. It's they're engaging in the conversation. You give grace for things that you feel a certain way about. And I always say you have a right to feel however you want. It doesn't mean that your feelings are right. You can feel completely a way about something and be 100% wrong, right? That's a thing. I say that as technically I would be considered a conservative Christian, and that's cool, whatever. I don't think I'm quite as conservative as some people think I am, but I think it's just because, well, that's a different conversation, but I actually pay attention to what's in the book, and that's what I actually live by. But to their point, and what they're trying to do is they're engaging and they're trying to solve the problem. I want to support them in that. They're not, and I think that's to your point of like it becoming like that tokenism kind of thing. The thing that I sometimes pay attention to is, are they trying to take it over? And they're not trying to take it over. They're trying to figure out, how do we help, right? Are there resources we have internally that we can hand you that support what you're doing externally? Are there ways that we can set up spaces for your external group to communicate with our internal group better? Those are the conversations that we've been having. And to me, that's a huge difference. It's very, how do I say this word? It's very colonizing, whatever that word is, to see a people of color doing a thing and you as a business go, oh, we're going to take that word and claim it, and then we're going to do it the way we Ugh, that's cringe. That's real cringe. I'm like, yeah, I got to pull back from that, right? I got to take my ball and go find another park to play in. Go find another court. This isn't the one, right? But that's not what HubSpot is doing. They're actually asking, like, how do we fit what you're doing? And even up front being like, we're not saying assimilate. We're not saying get rid of the space you're in and move everything over here. We're saying, can we create spaces that make it easier for your group to engage in conversations with us, right? And make it easier for your group to connect and find more people that fit your group. What can we utilize in our toolbox to help make this easier for you? That, for me, that's golden. That shows me like you're actually thinking about us and you're not trying to, it's not a branding thing, as we've just seen with the past election where everybody's like, oh, we're not doing the DEI thing. We can fire all those Black executives now. You guys are out.
Finally.
We needed you in the last 4 years, but we're good now. We're past crazy. That PR stunt. And they're not doing that. That's not what they're doing. And so for me with HubSpot specifically, like you asked early on about one of the things I'm excited about, that's one of the things I'm really excited about, is just where this conversation is going to continue to go. And then meeting more people in the space that look like us. I know that sounds really selfish to maybe everybody who's not in the minority group, but if you've ever, we have a place here locally called Feather and Fin. It's in the heart of Black downtown Norfolk in Virginia. And if you're a white person and you walk in that space, I promise you that place will freeze like you're a Black person in the 40s walking into a place you shouldn't be in. It's one of those things where where you've walked into a space where nobody looks like you, you know what that feels like. And so that's what we're trying to balance a little bit. It's not even a thing where it's like everybody else isn't cool. Everybody else is cool. But Max, I don't know if you've ever walked into a space that you should be in and you're invisible, right? Meaning no one speaks, no one says hello. You walk up to talk to people and they act like you didn't walk up to say hello. Oh. I've actually been the keynote somewhere where they didn't know I was the keynote. Oof. And nobody was friendly until after I got off the stage.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that where you're like, I just need some faces I can look at that make me feel stronger in that moment. And so that's the whole vibe. And I appreciate that they understand that enough to support it and get behind it a bit and try and figure out how they can help. And I think that's something everybody needs, right? Like, I don't think it's a minority thing because we're the minority. But if it were the other way, if you were in Nigeria as a minority, I think you'd need the same thing.
This is profound. It's a good bring.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Absolutely.
What? Because I don't know, right? Listen, I've got a voice in this HubSpot space, right? I've made a name for myself making dumbass videos and memes and getting people to giggle about HubSpot and like that. What can someone like me do to advance this or help this or be a positive anything in all of this? Because topics like this, it's just, I get so analysis paralysis over all of it that I just end up doing nothing. And I just don't know the answer, man. And I want to know.
It's real. It's very real. I'll share with you some things that I've shared with others, and I'll even pull the curtain back a little bit on some of the things that I've said. There are conversations, there are things that I said that are honestly for people that look like me. When I say you're the person in the culture and you want other people to correct their behavior regarding your community and your culture, you need to extend them grace. I'm talking to Black folks.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put walls up and get attitudes with people when they're trying to figure this crap out.
Yeah.
You have to openly let them in and give them room to say, like I said, potentially some racist stuff, and just tell them, hey, dude, that's racist. Yeah. And here's why it is, right? Doesn't mean we're going to end the conversation. Don't get hung up on that, right? Like there's this thing like as soon as you throw that word out there, people want to, no, not that. It's no, I'll be anything but that. Call me a murderer, but that I will not be, because that's evil. Dude, so is a murderer. But look, there are all kinds of things we do that are just wrong, but we just got to give people room and grace in that space as Black folks, right? I think the other side of this is come with your questions, but come with the open mind. Don't try and defend. Don't try and be judgy. But the reality, and here's the real stuff. The question you just asked is, what do I do? How do I fix it? The simple answer most people don't like, if you ask me. It's not our problem to solve. As a Black person, I didn't make white people hate me or any other culture hate me. I can't tell you how to fix that.
Yeah.
And I take the other and I say, you do nothing.
Yeah.
Because the more you talk and the more you bring up is more further deepening whatever's not there, right? You end up with this negative, like a negative times a negative void where nothing times nothing ends up with a huge positive. And you're like, well, there wasn't even anything to talk about, right? I think I forgot who said it was like, hey, just stop talking about race because we literally all are the same thing all day. So there's nothing to fix. If you don't come with a hammer and a tool and start messing with stuff, there's nothing to fix.
And that's factual, right? Like at the end of the day, this race thing was made up.
It was all made up.
True.
It was all made up from the beginning. Now, the end point I'll say is, if you really feel like I got to do something, go talk to the people that look like you and explain to them why it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's really...
You experienced that in your quote unquote world, which was, it's our world, but you get what I'm saying. That's the thing where you see you talking to anybody like us, they're going to be like, yeah, dude, it's fine. But if you have that conversation, there's going to be more defense when Max talks to John, like the other Tim Jones, and is Max, what the hell are you talking about? Who do you think you are? That's going to happen. That's because that happens in our community. We're like, yo, that dude didn't mean. Why are you bringing this blue-eyed, white-faced dude in the rap? Why would you do that, Dr. Dre? That's not anything for you. He doesn't look like you. You can't bring him in. Case in point.
Yeah.
So that amongst groups of the same, having to, I wouldn't say defend, but explain why they are wrong. That's where there's the wrong, right is going to happen, not like in a conversation like this. Because we're like, what are you talking about? There's nothing wrong. We're at our house. We're all chilling. We know each other. We're open to knowing more about each other and that whole kind of concept. So Tim, Max, this is the type of forum and this is the type of conversation that we love, right? This is something people are learning, people are exploring, and it's a side that isn't talked about. No one's going to put out a paper about, did you guys see that there's only Black people in the last inbound emails? Why? It's like a group of 13 out of 10 trillion people. There's 13 people that were in the email. Like, super funny. But Tim, we like to kick it off and end something with a little couple, 3 questions.
Yeah.
That you know. First question, Tim, what's the last cartoon you watched?
Ooh. Oh, gosh. What was the last one? I'm trying to think of the name of this one. I'm a cartoon buff, so anime and stuff is my thing.
Early.
The last one I can remember the title of, I just watched the last Castlevania that dropped not too long ago on Netflix.
I've never seen any of the Castlevania stuff, but Nova
dude,
Lore pretty heavy.
They're good. There's 2 different series, so they dropped the first series, and I think it went like 3 or 4 seasons, and then they just dropped the second one. I think that went 2 seasons, something like that.
Got it. Now the ultimate question:
Devil May Cry. That's actually the last one I watched.
There's a Devil May Cry like anime.
There was one years ago. They just dropped a new one.
That makes sense. That game was super good with the gun sword combos.
Yeah.
So, the last video game you played? Matches farming sim.
Yeah, you're hitting me. So I don't play games like I used to. I used to be killer at like Tekken, Gran Turismo, Live, and Madden. Like those are my games. Oh, and obviously I was like a 70 kill on Call of Duty, like 70 kill average on Call of Duty. The game that I played more recently, I used to play Fight Night because I think it's a good way to de-stress.
That's a really good game.
And bro, 5 minutes, I can get on and off it just like that. If I had a rough meeting, let me go pound on Mike Tyson for a little while, knock his tail out.
That's just good. Oh man, the soundtrack was banging on Fight Night.
It was really good. Now, what is it? The MMA joint that they did, that EA Sports did.
But that sounds,
UFC.
Yeah, the UFC joint.
Yeah.
Literally played it last night.
So, favorite new HubSpot feature? Not AI.
Not AI. Favorite new HubSpot feature. Dude, I said it earlier. I am just glad they updated the navigation by Hub.
Yes, dude.
I was like,
yes. Literally, bro, when they first came out with that news, I literally went to them and rebuilt the entire nav. I was like, this is what you need to do. And it's basically what they ended up doing, minus like a couple of things. Like, I still think the only thing that sucks about the new one is that they basically made the same mistake of the library and now put it under CRM, when what they really need is like a productivity tab with all the tools that are shared across service and sales. And then it would be perfect.
And
but
what's funny,
it's so close. It's
so close. What's hilarious though is I got so used to the last one, I'm still lost.
Yeah.
Still
Dude.
I'm going back. I'm going looking for library, and I'm like, oh, the meetings are now in sales.
Yeah. Also, hate the little funnel icon for the sales tab. It just doesn't. I just don't get it. Make it a $sign, dude. Don't overthink it. But
so funny. Well, appreciate having, man. Tim from Eternal Works. It's been a pleasure, been a blessing, and let's keep the positivity rolling, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it, man.